Waiting for TradingView to populate my stream. It looks like I'm live on my end. There we go. I'm up. We're up and running. How's everybody doing today? How do you survive this dip? Anybody survive this dip? Let me know what you did. Did you buy the dip? Did you sell the dip? What did you buy the dip on? What did you capitulate on? Where do you guys think we're headed? Let me know. Let's get everything ready, getting the YouTube stream going before I start diving into this session of chart mastery, where I'm going to do what I always do. We're going to cover BTC, we're going to cover Ether, we're going to cover some crypto majors, right? Some things I'm seeing. Also going to cover indices, stocks, and so forth. The S&P, the QQQ, and any other tickers you guys would like to show. So I'm open for shills. You may start shilling now. I'll get to them when I get to them. So over the last week plus, right, over the last 2 weeks, I was talking about a retest of this wick zone, right? A retest of 44,187. This has been retested and it failed, right? I tried one long right under it and it got stopped, so I just let it go. You gotta try, right? You gotta try. Now, I've seen this in the past, right, where we get a wick below. What's really important on something like this, a continuation 61.8, in my opinion, is the weekly, right? Because we've seen this happen on the chart several times in BTC history, right? And it's all about the weekly closes, right? So I'm going to showcase something. Here we go back, just going back in time. This was a 50% retrace, right? And then the following one, I think, was a 61.8. The reason I'm highlighting this is just it's important to see what happened in the past to kind of figure out how we want to treat this in real time. So this wick below on the weekly, right, but it closed above. We should know by the end of the week what happens. Did we bottom today? Potentially, right? Here we saw another wick to the below 61.8. Weekly close was strong, and if we take that continuation wick, which is kind of what we're doing now in real time, this kind of wicked right at it, right? The next one was a 786 retracement and so forth. So we did find support. We did find some support on the chart, right? BTC found some support on the chart. Didn't quite hit my fib target, right? Instead, I bounced off the weekly EMA that Ched likes to use. Ched is one of our team members in Discord, right? I'm going to bounce off this EMA. We've seen several bounces off this EMA continue, right? If we do get a revisit of today's lows, I'd expect, I wouldn't say I'd expect it. I would like, let's go to the daily chart. I'd like to see, I'd like to see 40,122 hold, right? If we get exploration at 3744, 37,442, 37,442, I'd like to long that, right? Or at least try to. For now, we're seeing the weekly EMA hold. This is Ched's discovery. You're not going to take credit for it. If you want to connect with Ched, hop in Discord. All right. This is what I see on BTC. This is what I see right now. Ideally, even if we're going into a bear market, I'd like to see some kind of 61.8 snapback. And I think that snapback should put it at 47.56 if we turn here, right? If we don't, then we're just going to have to go off that swing wherever it goes, find the 61.8. So we'll have an update on that on Monday if we get a pivot today. All right, that covers BTC. Let's look at Ether, ETHUSD. Let's look at Coinbase chart. I was saying I don't trust this, right? I said that several times. I didn't trust this. Now we're getting a retest of 3,160. If this holds, right, good for bulls. This looks like a good, decent BTFD, right? Stomp on something like this would be that last wick low, right? Treat it as if just a wick below. We've seen this level hold of support before. We've seen a bounce in the past. We've seen the bounces over here, right? We're basically seeing the same thing right now. So we should see this hold. All right. the one thing I did mention that I longed in the chat, or I mentioned I longed two of them, two alts, and it was yesterday, like, and it did ring. It hasn't retraced, hasn't stopped me out yet. Was Link, and I got in like fairly low last night. I forgot which dip it was. I think it was like this dip, right? And so it's up heaps. Did that on 100x, and my stop was at Wick on this dip down to 23.89. Trailed my stop up to here. I took profit twice on it. I'm like 30% out. Just capitalized on some profits. I'm looking to see a continuation here. If we don't, right? If we don't, it'd be too bad, right? I need to see that close above 26.85 to target 29.56, right? That's what I need to see for my trade. I'm not saying long it up here. I'm just saying that's what I need to see for my trade. Did have an algo position. Did you see it still holding that trend line? Right, it could not hold it at any time now. It could just like dump straight through. But basically on daily closes, trend line looks semi-intact for now. If you got to that wick, right, we haven't tested it, but I like my trend lines on closes. And you're starting to see a little bit of a turn, so hopefully we can continue on. All right, let's look at the S&P. Let's look at the QQQ. So the SPY did a 50% retrace of this last swing, right? I did mention that in Discord. And the QQQ did the same thing. So if we see support here, we see support hold, that's good, right? And then if we don't see support hold, that's bad, right? We're going to probably retest 462, the 61.8 of the same move. But a continuation here would have said this was a continuation here. It tells me one thing. So if you got a turn here and up, then you get a short squeeze. It tells me this was a bear trap and not ready to rally again. Right? Bullish 50% continuations are pretty aggressive. QQQ, same thing, just on a bigger swing. It's holding on the daily. On the 50, I did signal some TQQQ calls today. Forgive me, Lord. I put them out of the money. I put them like 6 weeks out. Just it looked too good, right? That dip on the TQ was at, I think, 61.8, and I wanted it, right? So, Amaro, I covered BTC. I always start with BTC. So you're gonna have to. I don't know if you can rewind. I don't think you can on TradingView. You're just going to have to wait for the team to be over and then watch again. I'm sorry, man. Anything else you guys like me to cover? I guess I could go over BTC, see what's happening in real time because I covered it a few minutes ago. This thing's volatile. So BTC, just a quick recap. Let's do EMA. All right. We're holding at the weekly CHED EMA. I'm not going to mention it because it's a CHED EMA. It's not mine. It's CHED's. And then the next level down is going to be 4122. But if we see a turn here, right, we've seen turns at this EMA before. And yeah, so as of last week, I was saying we need to retest 44,187. And if we come back up and close the weekly above 44,187, I'd be a little more optimistic. It's also important to pay attention to indices, right? Because BTC doesn't just go up on its own. It's not a hedge against the stock market. When it's risk on, it's risk on. When it's risk off, it's risk off, right? So if indices decide to dump, then we could see more blood in the streets. But they're looking like continuation, right? I'm thinking we're gonna see continuation, especially if you get that turn here. If not, then I'm probably gonna get ready to short anyway. Just in case, I'm going to open some hedges like at ES 4737, right? If you get this move up to here, I'd want to see some like rejection wicks, right? And if not, I'll probably retry a little higher, the 4760. Same thing with the QQQ. Just because I have calls out of the money doesn't mean I'm going to like let them ride all the way. Likely want to hedge it. All right, let's look at ANC, USDT. Thank you for specifying which pair you would like. Man, what is this chart doing? Jeez Louise. All right, let me see. Let me help you. Try to help you, my friend. At this point, I'd want to see $2.61. Can I confirm that? Yeah, $2.60. I don't see anything along here. Ooh, interesting. Let's do this. Let's go back to BTC and use the Harmonics scanner that we built. The scanner. You guys like Harmonics? Anybody like Harmonics? Not seeing any patterns here. 15, 30, 60. Everything wants lower. So it might go back lower. It might retest some of these lows, right? BTC is no longer what it used to be. Like if you traded it in 2018, 2019, you know that 2020 and 2020, right? You know that 2021 was a very different year, right? Instead of putting in these like 1, 2, 3 bottoms, we had these really, really annoying big consolidations, right? Like this correction was the most painful one I've ever traded. So, and that's because there's a lot more players in the game. There's a lot more exposure. There's a lot more buyers. There's a lot more sellers. It's a more heavily traded asset, right? So we're not going to, I don't think we're going to see something like we used to back in the day. It's like a touch and go, unless we're really ready to go. Like here, we had like 3-4 bounces before getting our touch and go. What was pretty about this one is the first touch was the lowest, and then like it basically formed a base. So we just need to see this level hold, the weekly EMA hold. Somebody showed me BABA last week. It's looking really good, at least for now. If we get a turn in stocks, that's gonna be beautiful, right? Because we got in at like freaking bottom on this one. Ironically, we need to see it close above 130, right? We need to see that close above 130.45 to trade the continuation. It's actually above it, so it's good. I think it's looking decent. I think Baba's looking decent. The more I try to fix this fib, the better it looks. So as long as we stay above 129, I think we should see 157. My calls are up on that one. All right. Let's look at Apple. You guys show me some charts, please. Help me out. All right. So Apple, we had this wedge, right? It broke out. Think fibbing this last breakout. I don't know which low to use on this one. Let's go with this higher low because we did have a 61.8 and now we're seeing a 50 try to hold. So ideally we don't want to see 167 fail, right, on Apple. That would be shit. But I don't think the market's ready for like a short until it does something like this, like a bearish 61.8, so we can short here. Right, I don't like to short these down candles. So if we see like a failed 61.8 to the upside on an intraday, I'd probably take a short. Thoughts on mRNA? Thank you for the shills. I love it. So, man, Moderna. Anything that's like skyrocketed in the last year and a half, 2 years. There's a point in time where a trader must be satisfied. Something that made 3,400% since 2019, right? The trader must be satisfied and learn to take profits and not chase. Okay. That would be the lesson for mRNA. If it taught you anything, if it taught anybody anything, would be to A, be satisfied, and B, not chase. All right, let's talk technicals now. enough philosophy, right? So what do we see? Based on this fib extension that I just drew off this last range, off this swing high to this swing low, right? We have this extension. The fibs have been pretty compliant. We saw 59 hold, little liquidity below it, right? We saw support here before at 215. We saw resistance at 341. We saw the top be called by my fibs. All right, so what are we looking at now, right? If 215 holds, you'll likely see some kind of snapback to the upside. If 215 fails, there's gonna be further downside. Now, before we like make an assessment of that, I do see this other swing where we're doing basically a bullish retracement. It's looking ugly, right? It's below 61.8. Even if I go down to this next low, it's below 61.8. If I go to the next low, and now I'm just chasing. I'm trying to find a 61.8. I don't like doing that. So I'm gonna stick to mRNA is retracing previous extensions. We need to see 215 hold, all right? If this thing keeps dumping, then it can dump, right? All right. Chain link. I covered link. I'm gonna cover it again just because I'm getting a lot of engagement in the chat, and I love you guys. Link. So I bought the dip on link, and I announced it in Discord when I did. It wasn't like in the link channel. It was in the margin leverage chat channel because I wasn't super confident in buying that dip, and it's still ripping, right? So, what I'd like to see on link. 25 is holding, right? 26.8. We're getting a breakthrough. I want to see 29.56 as the next target before considering further profit taking or hedging a short and keeping my long open. At that point, I'm comfortable keeping my long open and hedging like a short that's 1.5 the size of my long. And why do I say that is because what do we know about Link? It likes its 61.8 bearish retracements, right? Like I shorted the top at 38 on stream a couple of months ago. Like when this happened in November, I called this top. It was the same top as Litecoin. So I want to see 29.56. I want to see how price reacts there. If it pushes above, right? For now, 26.85 needs to turn into support. All right, let's cover XRP. Sorry, man, I skipped over you. It's looking good, man. It's looking good. We're back at the 61.8. Like, if somebody's going to take an XRP trade, this dip would be the dip, right? It's holding at this red line, and it's kind of below support. So we know a lot of people have been stopped out. Trendline traders have been stopped out. It's 61.8 of this last swing. So I like it. I like it right here. Just make sure you have a stop loss, right? Don't do that dollar cost averaging bullshit. Because if we get in a dollar cost averaging bullshit, like some people did, excuse me for cursing, man, I'm sorry. If you get into that, and you get in another 2018 scenario, right, you need to set a stop, a hard stop. TMO, Thermo Fisher Scientific. Jeez, man, it's dumping like the rest of the stock market. All right. What is this chart doing? Never traded it. Wow. I'm gonna start with extending this range. What? Somebody tell me fibs don't work. Somebody say fibs don't work. All right. So 670 fib target, right? 512 was a target. 320 was a target. I mean, this thing's still extending on the weekly chart. It's still extending this range, right? From 35 to 11, and this chart is still respecting these extensions. We can see that over and over. I'm not gonna say it's gonna drop to 512, but I do think, I don't know if it's done dipping, right? I don't know if the dip is done dipping. As of this last swing, right? So if you go to the daily, then we see like should be a wick low over here is probably this one that we want to look at. I think if 611 fails, 597 is the next support. And if that fails and we continue to sell off, then I would only want to interact with 524, right? But I don't think it's going to dump straight through. I never traded this chart, so I don't know, like, its character. It could. But let me, before I give you the worst case scenario, let's go back and try to look at it like in a smaller time frame, so it's going to give us the shorter term pivots. So 611 is holding, right? 611 is holding for now. That looks decent. If there's a liquidity extension here, you should see it at 611 again. So it needs to tuck above 611, right? And if not, then yeah, I'd look for lower low exploration. But in terms of like targets, did it ring my what would have been a long-term extension target? It sure did, right? So 670 is the top until it's not. Let's look at Sol USD. Man, I feel bad for Sols. Same thing, same lesson as mRNA. We'll get back to mRNA shortly. Boom. Jeez. Tell me fibs don't work. I mean, you can tell me that, but you're not going to, you'd be lying. All right. So the weekly topped off at 244. Let's go into the daily. What do we see? There's a few ways to look at this. You could take this continuation swing low and try to predict the next pivot. And I have an alert here at 123.55. Oof, right? Okay, so here's what needs to happen. Sol needs to reclaim 139 to play this bullish continuation, right? It literally needs to reclaim this red line. If it does not reclaim this red line, then we get into some trouble, right? Get into some trouble. And probably getting down to 110. But that's still also the 50% on this bigger swing. So we might see it hold. Really interesting chart right now. Solana. I like it. All right, back to mRNA. Hopefully my fibs are still there. When assessing mRNA 215 price, how do you determine that it's going to pull one way or the other unless it clearly breaks? And if I break out of my question, also I just missed your BTC assessment. What's current spoil? So I've covered BTC like 2 or 3 times. There's really like not a clear-cut way to determine if it's gonna hold or not, unless like in my mind, right, and my methods would be volume and looking for like good volume, right? This needs to break out on good volume. Typically, my golden rule is continuation until proven otherwise. And what I mean by that is this move, so this from this swing high to this swing low, we can call that a bearish impulse, okay? And what happened was the chart pulled up and did a bearish 61.8 retracement, right? And this is bearish continuation. So in my opinion, it's in bearish continuation until it's not. This is basically on any time frame, right? And like even on these smaller swings, right? So you think this is a bearish 50. No, it's a bearish 61, right? This was a bearish continuation until it's not, right? Now here, what are we seeing? Where's the next bearish continuation? Market leaf signs, right? That's a bearish 50. So we'll know when it retests this previous low, when we actually had support come in and move the chart back up. That's when you'll know if the breakout is real or not. Downward breakout. Bro, I covered BTC, bro. Like so many times already. I love you guys. I start with BTC. Do you use magnet? I don't like using the magnet tool. This question is coming from YouTube, from Cooley on YouTube. I don't like using the magnet tool because I like stretching my fibs out, right? The magnet tool kind of like snaps to price right here, and it only covers this move, so I can't really, like on an extension like this, you can't draw it with a magnet tool. I can try, right? So if you use the magnet, remove drawings, and we got this. I got the magnet tool on now. Come on. You see what it's doing? It'd have to be like very different. And then I can't really cover the chart with price. You can't drag it out with the magnet tool. And to me, like, I can't assess a chart if my fibs are back here. Now I could like go into the settings and extend them indefinitely, but I don't like that. So yeah, I don't use a magnet tool. All right. You guys have any other chart recommendations, chart shows? I'm gonna look behind me, get some ideas, things to cover. I want to look at forward before I look behind me. This thing's looking good. I'm still looking for just a little higher high. Still sitting in 22 calls. Expire in a year. Let me look behind me real quick. Don't see anything super interesting. Let's go back to BTC USD. Since I got plenty of requests. So yeah, I think, we talked about I'm getting a lot of where is support questions. So for now, support's at the CHED EMA on the weekly. Bounced off of it again, right? You've seen a couple of bounces. If you guys want to connect with CHED, he's one of the team members at Coin Observatory. You can chat with him on Discord. So we've seen this hold before. Oh, I'm covering it with my pretty face, right? So we've seen this EMA hold before. Now we're seeing it try to hold again. I do think if we get another like wicked down wick, we could see 40,122. We could see 3744, right? As of the last 2 weeks, I was saying that we were missing a retest of 44,187 to 61.8. But if this weekly closes above, then it wouldn't be as scary. We'd have time, right, for reassessment. RVSI is trend indicator with okay results. RVSI. Well, if it's working for you, good for you, man. I'm happy for you. It's all about what works for you. Let's look at Atom USD. I like to trade pivots, right? Let's look at the Coinbase chart. Why is it trading? Okay, that's whatever. Atom's looking good. Has been a bit of a top gainer as of recent. It's doing like a wedge. It's trying that high, right? But I mean, I feel like right now we should consider like support and resistance as, or at least resistance as resistance, right? So like until we get it close above 45, we're not getting a 55. Could you look at you for me? You want me to look at myself? I'm kidding. Let's do you. Unity software. I like charts like this. Where like it's doing somewhat of a descending, broadening wedge. Right? It's doing something like a descending, broadening wedge. And potentially trying to pivot here at like 121. You want to see it close above 121, right? What's the ticker for osmosis? is U an index? US 30? This chart looks interesting, to say the least. What's going on in terms of big picture? Below the 61.8, but I'd want to see it get back above, right? So that's kind of my opinion on it. Oh, indicator index, I hear you. Osmosis. I see it. I don't like this. It's looking like bear flaggy, right? You look at this and like in terms of classical charting patterns, looks like a bear flag. It's also only traded on like one exchange, and I don't quite see a proper swing I can extend. Maybe we can, right? Maybe we can, just going off this range that I just highlighted. Let me go ahead and clear that. These wicks, man, they fuck charts up. All right. So going off this range, I could probably fix it a little bit. All right, going off this range over here, the swing high of $6, swing low of $5.25. We get some extension targets, and 17.88, right? $18 was resistance. It broke down, twisted 12, and now we're trying to retest 12 again. I think if it fails below 12, it's probably time to get out. Not financial advice. That's just what I see. It's what I think. That's how I would trade it. All right. Let's look at BTC again. I think it's going to be interesting. What is going on with these micro swings? It's looking decent, right? It's looking decent. It tested the 786. That's good. I just said, like, assume continuation until it's not. So I'd want to see the chart get back above the 41.90. That way we can assume that like bearish continuation is over. But if it fails over here again, then if it dumps again, it's probably gonna dump lower. And just to show you an example of like bearish continuations, if we take, not super happy with that high. If you take this last high, right, and we had like these two wicks over here, back to that mRNA trade, right? We had these like almost like tweezer tops, right? These wicks at the 61.8, and bam, rejection. So I had it close above 42,625. I'd assume it was bullish, right? But it didn't, so we can't assume that. So now I want to see the last swing. Oh, I did not mean to do all that. I'd want to see this last swing get above bearish continuation territory, right? 41,904. Sweet. All right, fam. Thank you all for tuning into today's stream. We kept it going some good 30 minutes. I'll be back streaming again on Monday. I do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you want to learn my fib methods, I've got a workshop. And it's, if you go to coinobservatory.com, scroll down, it's like smack middle of the page. And if you want to learn like how I do this, and if you want to connect with us, the community, hop in Discord. Let us know you're in Discord. We'll give you a guest pass. You can check out all our channels. Other than that, have a safe weekend. Enjoy the first weekend of the new year. Trade safe. Use some stops. Don't forget to take profits and like be satisfied with big runners. Other than that, that's all I got.